Hello folks, it's David here and welcome to Heart and Hand Extra, the Rangers podcast. Thank you for joining us, and this week we have something a little bit different for you. From time to time we like to chuck in something a little bit different to our run-of-the-mill shows, and this week we have got something absolutely spectacular. I got the opportunity this week to sit down with Rangers 9-in-a-row legend Ian Ferguson and have a chat about his time at Ibrox and his views on the current side. Now, they tell you that you should never meet your heroes. They are wrong, because I got to meet one of mine and he was absolutely fantastic. So I hope you guys enjoy listening to this as much as I enjoyed recording it, and here's my chat with Ian Ferguson. Hello folks, it's David here, and I'm a wee bit starstruck, so bear with me. Because I'm sitting here with one of my first Rangers idols, and still to this day one of my favourite Rangers of all time, Mr. Ian Ferguson. Hello Ian.
Hi David, how are you? I
am, like I say, a wee bit nervous. I'm not going to lie, because it's as I say, a guy I watched, all through the 9-in-a-row and even before that. Before we get started today, I'd obviously had a list of stuff I wanted to chat to you about, but the first thing I think we really should speak about is Ray Wilkins, because I was watching when the news broke yesterday. I went back and I watched some of the footage, and this had stuck with me all these years. Was his last match, and the image of you going up as he was going off and giving him a hug, and you seemed quite emotional that day.
Yeah, look, it was quite emotional, and obviously playing with a guy like Ray Wilkins and being a new kid in the block, a young kid coming into Rangers, and he'd already been here. He was like a father figure to me, like a lot of the other older players were. Davy Cooper was very similar. Look, with a heavy heart today, getting that terrible sad news, and our thoughts are with Ray's family and Jackie. A lovely family, and it was really sad to hear that news that Ray had passed away.
Well, let's go back to the beginning of your career. The first I think everybody remembers was you coming through at St Mirren, and at the time you were without a doubt the hottest young player in British football. I mean, at the time the papers every day was full of Rangers obviously, but Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool. What's that like when you're just a kid and you're coming through and every day you pick up the paper and there's huge money moves being mentioned? Yeah, look,
obviously it's very flattering, that these teams were interested in you at that time, but there was only one place I wanted to come, and that was Ibrox, and I made that pretty clear to the St Mirren board that if Rangers were interested, then I wanted to go to them. But for whatever reason, St Mirren put a lot of obstacles up my way and wanted me to go down south and obviously leave Scottish football. But I knew, the minute I knew that Rangers were interested, there was only one place I wanted to come, and that was straight to Ibrox.
There's a famous story though that you were in they put you into a car basically and bundled you almost like a kidnap victim and go to Manchester, and you basically had to go, no, this isn't happening.
Yeah, they eventually took the bag off my head at Carlisle, I think it was, and I told them to turn the car back, and look, I was my heart wasn't in it. As a footballer, you get a gut feeling for something, and the minute that I heard Rangers were interested, there was only one place I wanted to go. And look, I was told to go down and speak to Manchester United, and we started the journey, and I just wasn't getting that feeling, and I wasn't getting the vibe, that I normally get in regards to having a good feeling. And so I decided, look, turn the car around. I'm not going, and it was as simple as that. That was a simple decision. I then came back to Glasgow, and then the rest was history.
Well, I remember at the time being really excited, because obviously we wasn't a lot of TV football in those days, but we'd seen you playing for St Mirren, and then of course the 87 Cup final when you'd scored the winner. So when you arrived at Ibrox, unlike a lot of people, you already had that experience of being a winner and winning a trophy and actually firing a team to a trophy. And in many ways, taking a team like St Mirren to a Scottish Cup victory is a once in a generation achievement. I mean, even ahead of some of the stuff you can do at a bigger club.
Yeah, look, I think it was, it wasn't just down to me, we had some great players.
Oh, you did score the winner?
Yeah, I scored the winner. we had some great players there, Billy Abercrombie, Derek Hamilton, Campbell Money, Paul Lambert, David Winnie, Tony Fitzpatrick, and the list goes on, Kenny McDowell. We actually had a really decent team there, and what I really liked about that team was the balance. The balance I thought was excellent. We had the older experienced players, and you had the up and coming younger players coming through with the energy, and we were sort of like that. We were hot and cold, at times, but a little bit inconsistent, but you had the older players who had to guide you through. It was a tremendous feeling, and it was a great time in my life, where I did get the opportunity to go and play in the Premier League. And as you said, my first year, got the opportunity to go and play in a Scottish Cup final. And look, for me, it was probably one of the worst games I think I'd ever played for St Mirren. Jimmy Bone had me by the throat when he was doing his extra time speech, and quite rightly so, because I was absolutely shocking that day. And I get one chance and one chance only, and managed to put it into the net. And I was delighted with obviously the extra time winner. But the game in itself was a poor game for me, because I just wasn't there. I was missing for 90 minutes, and as I said, Jimmy Bone gave me the kick up the backside that I needed, and that spurred me on.
Well, nobody remembers that, but they all remember what happened in extra time. You go to Rangers, you're a Rangers fan. Back then, Rangers were genuinely the biggest club in Britain, and one of the, if not the biggest club in the world at the time.
Yeah, you just beat me to that there. I would say the biggest club in the world.
Well, and it may be, for younger bears that have gone through all this shite the last few years, it's a little bit, but we genuinely were at that time, like, in the way that these modern clubs come through now that are very glamorous, everybody wanted to go to Ibrox. What was it like walking in on that first day where there's a room just full of world-class international players?
David, it was absolutely surreal. I couldn't believe it. I had to pinch myself, that whole week, that whole month, that whole year. I'm going into train with the likes of Terry Butcher, England captain, Ray Wilkins, England player, Milan, Man United, Chelsea, Ian Durant, up and coming young player, played under 21s with him, Dick Ferguson. The names I'm rhyming off here, they still make me smile, and a lot of happy memories with these guys. But it was fantastic, as I said, it was like a surreal feeling. But you know what, it's all right coming through those doors and saying you're a Rangers player. You need to earn the right to be a Rangers player. You need to go on that park, you need to go and train, you need to get in that team. So there was a lot of work still to be done. I loved coming in, and I loved talking to these guys, but I knew myself that I had to be focused on what I had to try and achieve to try and stay at Rangers, because I don't want to be in that revolving door where you come in for a year and then you're out for the next year. I wanted to be here for a long time, and fortunately for me, I was here for nearly 11 years, so I had a fantastic time here.
That is something actually I was going to mention to you, but the dressing room did seem to change a lot, and guys would come in, and if Graeme Souness didn't fancy them, it seemed 3-4 months and boom, you were at the door and somebody else got a shot at it.
Graeme was Graeme, if you weren't doing the job for him, you were gone. It's as simple as that. He was ruthless, and if you didn't do it his way, you were gone. And the other thing about Graeme was Graeme let you know that he was the manager, he was the boss, he was the one in charge. It was his way or the highway, and they done it in a fair way. It wasn't like coming down on you and beating you with a shoe or hitting something off your head. It was done in a way where he would sit everybody down and talk to them and tell them what he wanted, and he made it pretty clear, and you had to go out there and fulfil that. And if you didn't, as you seen, there was players here that were probably here for 5-6 months and then out the door. Whether it was they couldn't settle with their family lives, whether they couldn't settle at Ibrox, whether they couldn't play in front of the crowds, or whether they couldn't take the pressures. There's a lot of things at Ibrox that a lot of people don't realise. This club is about winning, and fans' expectations are very high. And if you can't do that, and you take a bit of stick, and you can either, there's two things you can do. You can either crumble, or you can go out there and you can say, well, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And that's the way I looked at it. Didn't matter what I get thrown at me, I was quite strong-minded, and basically whatever came from the terracins, whether people liked me, loved me, hated me, whatever they wanted, I would try and block that out, because I wanted to be there. It took me a long time to get here, and I wasn't going to let it go as easy as that, so I buckled down and I worked hard, and wasn't everybody's favourite, but I gave 100% every time.
Well, the game, I was reading back some old press reports in preparation for this, and the game where one of the papers used the phrase that you arrived as a Rangers midfielder was the League Cup final against Aberdeen, series of classics that Rangers had, and you scored an extraordinary goal in that match in the 3-2.
I slipped on my backside.
Well, you made it look good on the way down.
I don't make anything look good. I slipped.
I watched the goal this morning. That's an absolute classic.
There was a couple of incidents there that if you actually watch the video and you see it, Richard Gough actually does brilliant for that goal. He actually nudges, I think it's Art McLeish out the way. Kevin Drinkle does a miss kick, he swings his leg in the air and misses that, and it just lands perfect for me, where the ball's just around about waist height, and I just throw my body at it and tried a scissor kick, and I was fortunate it went in. Yeah,
it was an absolute cracker, and they were some games, those League Cup finals against Aberdeen. It just seemed every year that these epic clashes at the Old Hampden.
And that's exactly what they were. I remember going and I was standing on the terrace and watching the one before, and then, as you said, it's surreal that the following year you're actually playing in it and score a goal. So yeah, it just shows you how quickly life can change, and you're going and watching your boyhood heroes to actually being on the park. It was an amazing feeling.
So Graeme Souness leaves. You're cemented in the team at that point. Walter takes over. What was the feeling among the squad about that? Was it something you were happy with, or were you maybe expecting him to go down south with Souness?
Yeah, look, I think we were all expecting. I thought Walter was going to be leaving with Graeme. Graeme, look, if I'm being honest, I always knew that Liverpool was Graeme's first love. Just the way Rangers was my first love. So if I get the opportunity to go to Rangers when I was from St Mirren, I wanted that to happen. And Graeme was probably the same in his management career, where he's at Rangers and Liverpool coming from, which is his first love. He wanted to go there. But look, myself personally, I thought Walter would have went with Graeme at that time. And we didn't know what was happening because it was a few days later. But Walter stayed and took the training as always, and we were always trying to get some information from the gaffer. But the gaffer, he kept everything close to his chest, wasn't giving us any information. And then one day it was in the papers that he was taking the job. And then we asked him, and he took the job. So we were all delighted with that, because the gaffer did take the training under Graeme as well. That. He done a lot of the shape, a lot of the structure, a lot of the roles and responsibilities, all that stuff for players and so on. So it was great that nothing was going to change, if that makes sense, and they were just going to carry on the way we did carry on, winning, I think it was 4 championships at that time. We were delighted that the gaffer stayed. That
Aberdeen game at the end of that season, when it was the walking wounded going into that match, Ibrox was as tense as any game, and I don't care what anybody's saying out there, European matches, big old fuck. This, to me, I remember it was like everybody was scared to take a breath. What do you remember about that day? It was an extraordinary occasion.
It was a fantastic occasion, and I just remember the build up to the whole season, the last game of the season, and to me it was, and I don't know what it was, but I always knew we were going to win, and I don't know why. And I said it from day one, that Monday, and I said to the boys, I don't know what it is, I just get this feeling, we're going to win this game. And as I always do, every time we put that blue jersey on, that's what I feel, regardless who we're playing, whether it's Real Madrid or whether it's Barcelona or whether it's Juventus, we want to win that game, and we get it, for whatever reason, had a good feeling. The press was great, it was all positive, it was all good. But as you said, getting into that game, through that game, it was like the walking wounded. It was like the zombie flesh eaters. We were all getting moved all over the place. I think myself was the only player I don't think get moved. I think Mark Hateley got moved from striker to centre back. I think Tom Cowan broke his leg. I think there was a few other injuries. I think Mo Johnson ended up playing in midfield. I think Terry Hurlock went to fullback or something like that. But it was just an amount of players that get moved, and to come through that and get the last game of the season and win the title was an amazing feat.
Well, we were talking about this on a show the other day, and it wasn't on the telly. I mean, how extraordinary is that now? Can you imagine a game like that now not being worldwide? I mean,
but that left for the drama. That was great.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. You had to get in, and unfortunately, not everybody got in, and not everybody seen it on TV. You obviously seen it on TV later on that night,
and many times after.
But it was a day will live with me for the rest of my life, because it's one of those moments where it's the last game of the season. You're going for the title, you're at home, and the atmosphere was absolutely electric. It was amazing coming out to do your warm-up, and I think that even cemented it even more for me, was the confidence within the fans. Right. You felt the confidence when you ran out of that park, the applause the team got going out to do the warm-up, and that in itself helps players, the backing of the fans, and from start to finish for the 90 minutes the Bears were absolutely going crazy, which was great.
Was that the closest, in your opinion, that we maybe came in that run to maybe not getting the 9? Was that the point where you look back and you think, oh, that was touch and go that day?
I think that was pivotal. I think that one for me was one of the turning points of there's a belief here that we can go on. But I had that belief every time. As I said, I put that jersey on. But the quality that we had, the players that we had, there's times you went out in that park and you knew you were going to win. You just knew you were going to win. As I've said it before, you had guys like McCoy, you had guys like Hateley scoring goals for fun, you had guys like Loudrup winning games as well, creating goals. You just knew you were going to win. Or I don't know what it was, and I don't want to sound too cocky or too blasé.
You've got 10 championship medals, you can sound cocky.
I don't want to sound that way. I don't want to sound. I know it's done. And
it's earned.
but you actually felt that going out in a park. If any team was to score 2 goals against you, you're going to score 3, and that's what I felt with that team and that bunch of boys. There was just a joy to work with and a joy to play, in the same team with. And I think we all had that mentality that we wanted to win, and that goes a long, long way in your team.
91 to 93, a double and a treble, huge unbeaten run, Europe. Yeah. That was probably my favourite Rangers team. Yeah. Where would you rank it in terms of the Rangers teams you played in? Because you played in some belters.
I would agree with you. I'd say 92, 93 was probably the best team, and we went for back-to-back trebles in 93, 94 as well, and we just missed out at the last hurdle.
Yeah, I'll blame Ali Maxwell. I suppose you won't, but I will.
I'll blame Ali Maxwell as well. No, all kidding aside, look. But for me, that rates up there. For me, that was a team, and I remember Jerry McNee and guys on on their shows saying that me and Stuart McCall will never work in the midfield. But you know what? It was some of the best football we played, and we get some of the best run I think we'd had. I think it was 45 games 44, undefeated, 44, and then we went and unbeaten in Europe as well, which was great. So for me, it was that was probably one of my best times with the club, or best teams to be involved with at that time.
And another piece of Rangers history for you: you secured our first ever Champions League away win.
All right. Oh, there you go.
That was you that did that, and that's no easy. It took Celtic 34 goals to do that. 34. So you did it on the first season. So
yeah, we there was a thing somebody actually said to me as well the other day there, and. When we went to Ibrox, I don't think we'd won there for 10 years, and I think it was my first game at Parkhead as well, where we actually I think we beat them 2-1 that day. And again, with the quality and players that we had, and I never thought anything of that. Yeah. The quality and players that we had, I was always confident going there and beating them.
I had a terrible record before that. All through the 80s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I knew as a fan, but it's something that I didn't actually register or pick up. And as a young boy, that we hadn't won there for about. I think it was Alex Miller was the last time we'd scored. And when we went there, and again, it breeded confidence for every time we went to Parkhead. And and I'm sure when you look back, we actually won a lot more games than what we lost there.
Oh, aye. I mean, over that period. The 90s, the Rangers going to Parkhead. I mean, I remember there was a toss of the coin, and the game ended up at Parkhead and Walter Beaman, and it was kind of like, well, he was quite happy with that.
Absolutely,
then,
we didn't fear anybody, and no matter who we played, it was a team that went out there and had belief. Had a desire, had a hunger, and had a will to win. And not every single player was like that. They all had that inner strength to do well. And I always remember Donald Finlay saying it's a team that never knows when they're beaten.
The Stuart McCall thing you mentioned, because I remember it was quite a prevalent talking point at the time. Did that annoy you, considering you're winning all these games and winning all these trophies?
Not at all. The last person I'm going to listen to is Jerry McNee.
That's a very good point.
At the end of the day, it's people's comments and what people say. Yes, you do get little snippets and things like that, but I can tell you there was no more passionate players that wanted to do well for Rangers at that time as myself and McCall. And they said we were similar players, and maybe so, but it was one of our most successful periods, and it was again an absolute pleasure to play beside Stuart in those games.
I wanted to talk to you about that, because when you arrive, attacking midfielder, box to box player, over the years your game matures and develops, and I was wondering if it was something that maybe just happened and evolved, or Walter takes your side and say, look, I know this is what you do, but I need you, I know you can also do this, and I need this in the team. Or was it a mixture of...
No, it just happened, you know. Obviously when we signed Gaza, and wee Durante was in there at the beginning. Wee Durante was more an attacking player. You know, he'd be gliding in here and behind defenders and midfielders, and he was great. I was sort of more that sitting one, or if I could get forward, Durante would sort of spell it. And then when Gaza obviously came, Walter didn't say anything to me in regards to I want you holding, I want you sitting. He just wanted Gascoigne being the more forward player, so I just took it automatically that I would be the holding one, and then vice versa. And if I was forward, Gaza would then just sit. But it was more Gaza, I'd probably say for the 90% of the time, would be going forward.
We would just follow the ball.
Oh, look,
you're not going to stop him, is
no,
you?
You're not going to stop him. Look, Gascoigne was a genius, you know, and I put Ian Durante up there as well in the same bracket, you know. I think unless till wee Durante got his a bad injury, you know, I think Ian Durante would have been well up there, and if could have even surpassed Paul Gascoigne. You know, that's how highly I rate him. I think he was phenomenal at that time. Unfortunately, that horrendous injury, you know, took the wee man out for 2.5 years. But to you know, for the wee man to come back after 2.5 years and done what he'd done, was, you know, when you look at his record, he scored in Europe, won championships, won cups, and he was still obviously and run about the team and getting first team starts. It says a lot for him, and I've got nothing but admiration for the wee man. What he'd done and what he came through, I've got no idea. I can't even comprehend.
Nearly 3 years.
But nearly 3 years he was out, and for him to come back and do what he did, you know, it speaks volumes of the man.
And he's a legend at Kilmarnock. Just an aside, even after he leaves at Ibrox, he goes to Kilmarnock, and they still regard him as one of the best players they've ever had.
I don't really care about Kilmarnock. I'm going to take a Rangers legend, but you can keep that bit in.
Okay, don't worry, I'm not cutting anything. Moving then into the middle of the 90s, you've got Brian Laudrup, you've got Paul Gascoigne.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, that's some amount of time. Two of the best players that have ever played in this country.
Absolutely.
What was it? What were they like at training? I mean, did you kind of cement them for taking the piss on occasion?
Oh, mate, seriously, they were brilliant. You know, they were two total opposite ends of the scale. You know, one was a Fruit Loop and the other one was a nice, quiet gentleman, wouldn't do anything to annoy anybody. And then you've got Gaza on the other hand, who would be cutting your socks, stealing your shoes, putting your keys in somebody else's pocket, taking cash out your wallet. Not that I carry that much cash anyway. But
he's got to do that.
But he was brilliant. Look, he was absolutely fantastic. He's up there with McCoys and the Durants, the pranksters in the dressing room, and everybody knew what like they were. So whenever they were about, or whenever you seen them, you always made sure you kept an eye on them, because they were always up to mischief. And but you know, that was part of the upbringing with these guys. It was great. They were always up to something. They would never just sit. Let's put it this way: there was never a dull day in the Ibrox dressing room.
8 and 9 come along, and I just remember this whole city being absolutely mental for 2 years. Right, up to 7 it was kind of talked about, but 8, 9, that was when it really started to kick in.
Yeah.
And it just, looking back, it just felt like bedlam. It was every day. What's it like living with that pressure? Because I mean, if I could feel it as a fan, Jesus, you walking through the city, you must have got it all the time.
Well, I definitely tried to you know, cut off from all that. I didn't look at the press. I didn't read the papers that much. I didn't you know, when it came on TV, I'd turn it over, because you've got to try and live with that. And there is a lot of pressures playing with Rangers within itself without trying to think 2 years ahead. You know, it was always one game at a time for me, and it sounds the old cliche and boring, but that's the way it was. One game at a time, one step forward, let's go to the next game, and that's the way I always looked at things. Because if you start looking ahead and you start putting pressures on yourself, you know, a lot of people could crumble and not actually deal with that pressure. So I tended to take one game at a time.
Yeah, well, we've seen it. We'll talk about that, unfortunately, at the end, about players maybe not being able to handle the pressure of playing at Ibrox. But moving then into the 9-0 season, all the pressure, every game felt epic. I remember, and it was back in the days when the two teams would play at the same time. And I remember being at games either here or away, and somebody would have the wee tranny radio up to their ear, and they felt they're landing, you know. That season just ebbed and flowed, and some of the old firm games that year were astonishing things.
And look, they're games that win you championships, the Old Firm games, and it's not just them. You've got to go in. If I'm being honest, every single team, and we've done it year in and year out for a long, long time, every single team is trying to knock you off your perch, and we've done it for 9 years, where people, it's like a cup final for them. And I done it with St Mirren, and I done it with Dunfermline. Whenever you play the Old Firm, they raise their game, and they raise the game for a reason, because that's the best team. Rangers were dominant at that time. Rangers are the best team. You want to go out there and play well, and I seen that. I can actually see the build up, and I could see other people and how they changed through that week from training when they obviously played against Rangers. So yeah, look, I probably witnessed that as a player. Every single team raises their game against us, and it's no secret. Everybody knows that. So, but what we have got to find is the players that will combat that, and the players that will make sure that they go out there and say, right, okay, this guy's up for the game today. I've got to make sure I'm on top of him today. I've got to make sure I'm above him today. I've got to give him no shots going to go. I've got to make sure he doesn't run by me. I've got to make sure he doesn't beat me in the box. I've got to make sure he doesn't score a goal. So there's a lot of wee things that you take out, and you've got in your armour that you go out there as a player, that you've got to try and tick all the boxes to make sure that the opposition doesn't score goals.
Yeah, and to kind of take that on, one of the phrases that always gets mentioned about that team, and I think it's one of the reasons that Rangers fans love that team so much, is just what you're saying there. If another team wanted to have a battle, you guys would have a battle. If they wanted to play football, you guys would play football, and you made sure you were better at anything they wanted to do. And so often you would see teams coming to Ibrox, or especially away from home, trying to get a scrap going, and you guys were like, right, fair enough, okay, we can deal with this.
You're spot on in what you say. At the end of the day, we had the boys that would stand up for themselves. You had Richard Goff, our captain, who led by example. You had John Brown, I called him Hannibal Lecter when I used to run beside him. I ran beside him. I was in beside him for 7 years, and I was scared to even lift the remote control. You had him, and that would run through a brick wall for you. You had Stuart McCall that could take care of himself. So you had players within. You had McCoy that could take care of himself. People think Coyce is just a goal scorer, but I tell you, Coyce is a tough boy. He's a tough boy, and he could take care of himself well. You had Big Haitley, who was the other one up there that would, you could guarantee that there'd be some centre backs going to the dentist, further down the line. So yeah, that was. So we had if you wanted to mix it, we were there. There was no doubt about that. We were there.
It was great, because Rangers fans love that, right? We like good football, right? Don't get me wrong, but because of what you said there about teams will always raise their game and they'll try and back, we love a team that go out and go, no, we won't be bullied. And I think that's maybe one of the things that's lacking at the moment, is that there's a perception, and maybe I'm being unfair here. You're a guy who's worked in football your whole life. There's a perception that this team is a little bit soft when it comes to that type of challenge, when a team gets in their faces and say, right, what are you going to do about it, that we don't always rise to that.
I don't think that's any secret. I think that's obviously been evident for the games I've watched, and the games other fans that I speak to, and my mates and things like that. I think we are missing that physicality, and I think it's something that's been missing for a long time. We are getting teams now coming to Ibrox, and I think we've played 9 home games and lost 7. Ibrox should be a fortress, and it always was a fortress when we were here, and I know I'm going back a long time, and I don't like comparing eras to era. At the end of the day, we had a far better quality, in my opinion. We had a far better quality of player.
I think that's arguable.
Than what's going about now. But I do think they do play some good football. I do think we are missing that physicality, and that is part of the game. Whether people like it or they don't like it, it is part and parcel of the game. We've got players from the opposition coming and throwing elbows in or knocking us about, and we've got players that are make a challenge and then they're picking somebody up. Under our day, you wouldn't be picking them up. Let me make that pretty clear. You'd be standing over them and maybe try to stand on them, but you wouldn't be picking them up and saying, "Oh, sorry, mate." We're too nice, and we've got to get away from that and get back to the ruthlessness that to get to the top and win things. You've got to have that. That's part of the balance. I use this word balance all the time, and I just don't think the balance is right at the moment with the players that we've got.
No, unfortunately, you're 100% correct. To happier times then. We do a show on our network called the Advocaat Years, and we go back and we actually look at everything literally game by game, month to month. And you kind of things that had maybe passed into the mist of time you get to rediscover, one of which was just how important a role you play in that season, and the amount of games where we need that extra element and you get put in, the amount of games where you're on the bench and it needs altered, be it the tempo or it needs shut down or a team is starting to get the upper hand and he turns to you all the time. First of all, at the start of that season, the massive clear-out happens, and it was huge.
Yeah.
Were you expecting to go? Were you expecting to stay? What were your gut feeling?
I was hoping more on expecting to stay, because nobody had said anything to me in regards to you're moving on, or we don't want you, or we want you to stay. So I thought I'm under contract. Silence is golden. Maybe that's the way I was looking at it, hoping that I could get an opportunity to obviously impress Mr. Advocaat. So yeah, it was something that I was under contract and nobody had came to me in regards to whether they wanted to leave or stay. So I took it that I was staying, and that's what happened.
He seemed to like you as a player, and he seemed to have a bit more respect for you than some of the other players I've spoken to who were there under him, who maybe don't tell that same story. Yeah,
I was probably the only one that would argue with him at times. I would say my piece, and it wasn't through to being making trouble, or it wasn't through it being a troublemaker. It was through things that I seen that were different and from years gone by. But it's a new management coming in, new system coming in, new players coming in. So then I had to sort of bite my tongue a little bit. But yeah, look, I enjoyed it under him. I thought. He came in and picked some fantastic players, like Van Bronckhorst, Kanchelskis, Newman, Moles, and it continues. But he also had a good nucleus of player that was left in Big Amaruso, Barry Ferguson, and a few other boys, Johansson, and all these boys. They were already there in place as well. So he had to, again, I use this word balance. He had to get the balance right in regards to getting the team right, and I thought he did that. Fantastic. I think we got the treble, in his first year, which was great. So yeah, it was a good time. It was an exciting time. It was a new challenge for me. Yes, I probably would like to have played a bit more under Mr. Advocaat, but unfortunately, as you said, I was sitting on the bench quite a bit, or I was sitting in the stands watching the games. But the games I did come on, he would give you a role that he wanted. Yeah, he would give you a role that he wanted. Just that you mentioned there, the team would be getting the upper hand, try and close us down, get in the face, or it'd be you need to go in and watch this player's causing us problems, or it could be that he wanted me to push forward and things like that. So yeah, there was always a role within what he wanted us to do. But as I said, I enjoyed it. Again, it was something for me that was very special. I was actually out for 5 months under Dick, and then all of a sudden, I get back in training. I think it was a month to go before the final, the Scottish Cup final, or it might have been 3 weeks or so. But anyway, I started training, and he had me in the first team training with the boys, and I was working really hard just to try and get back, trying to get my fitness back. And then all of a sudden, we're playing Celtic at Hampden, and we go away for a few days, and he asked me to come with the team, and I said, yeah, I'd love to go with the team. Just make me feel part of that was fantastic, and I respect, and I loved that, the fact that he actually brought me, back into the fold. But it wasn't in no way that, and please believe me when I say this, there was no way I ever thought I'd actually have been in his plans. I thought I was just going down there to train and play, get my fitness going, because I'd been out for so long. And then the day before, he gets us all together and he names his team, and he says, I won't name the subs just now. And I'm thinking, it's a bit strange. Why wouldn't you name the subs? So anyway, named the team. The team was all right. They all knew they were playing, and I think there was only about 3 or 4 years that were left. I think it was 5 years left. And at that time, I think there was only 3. You could only put 3 subs on the bench. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, I'm out. So there's 4. There's a permutation there that there's 4 players. Only 3's going to get in. So he then brings us back in again. We go a walk in the morning, the cup final, brings us back in again, and then he basically sat the team down, went through his plans and preparation, what he wanted in shape and so on. And then all of a sudden, he said, the substitutions, and he went, blah, 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 and Ferguson. And I went, and I'm looking, and I'm talking, I thought I was hearing things. I'm like, and I turned around, and it's a shame, because Jonathan Johansson was the one that actually missed out. And I turned around to Jonathan Johansson and said, "Did he say my name there?" And he went, "Yeah." And Jonathan just stared right through me, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" But I didn't pick up on that Jonathan was the one that dropped out until later on, because I wasn't fully compos mentis. I wasn't taking on board what was actually happening, because there was no way I thought that this was actually going to happen. I was going to be on the sub. But, I got that opportunity. And it was, as I said, it was an amazing feeling, because it got me an opportunity to win another treble. Right. And something that I never thought was going to be possible, because I'd been out for 5 months, only trained for 3 weeks, and now I'm sitting on the bench against Celtic in the Scottish Cup fight. I got 25 minutes, I think I got at the end. Again,
the game was starting to turn, and he turns to you and goes, "You've got to go and shut that down for me."
Yeah, and it was great, getting that opportunity going there for 25 minutes was an amazing feeling, because, as I said, I'd been out for so long. And to go and win your second treble, it was special for me under Dick at that time. So that was something that will always stick in my mind, and be thankful for getting that opportunity.
Well, it also led to one of the most famous quotes in Rangers history, when you were asked after the game if you would be going out for a swally, and you said no, that you didn't drink. You only drank when Rangers won a trophy.
Yeah.
And people would be thinking you were an alcoholic.
Yeah, that's right.
Line that is.
That was
echoed down through history.
That was probably a wee bit of tongue in cheek, and it was something. Chick Young was in. He was asking me about going for a drink in that time, and I didn't really drink at that time. I was one of teetotal. I was one of these guys that was dedicated and professional, and
that was maybe a reason you lasted as long as you did then,
Yeah, I was I was always focused on what I wanted and what I had to try and do. So and I just let my hair down, in that interview, and I just said, he said, basically, "You're going for a drink tonight," and I said, "Well, I don't normally drink, Chick, but tonight I'm actually going to go and have a good drink." And some people might actually think I'm an alcoholic, with all the drinks, because I only drink when we win a cup final. And that's when I came out with that quote. So it was, and I have seen a few quotes where people in their bedrooms with this quote written up on their walls. So,
there's a banner that you see quite often at away games, and it's like you holding the trophy, and the quote is next to it.
Oh, is that right? I've never seen that one.
Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll see if I can find. If you're the guy who has good. That, if you can just get in touch, and we'll fly it at the next game so that Ian can see it. So, a great time, wonderful Rangers career. You're a Rangers fan, you've been since you were a kid. Watching what's happened this decade to us, you must have just gone through exactly the same as the rest of us did.
Oh, it's been horrendous. The turmoil that the club has been through, the ups and downs, and the owners, and, well, if you want to call them owners, these people that come in and want to take charge of Ibrox and then do it the way that they have has been nothing short of disgraceful. But the fans and ex-players and have basically risen to that, and if it wasn't for them, I don't know if we would have a Rangers at the moment, because the way what the club's went through over the last few years has just been nothing short of horrendous, and to see that from afar is absolutely heartbreaking. And I probably didn't get a lot of the information what was actually going on, but you do get little snippets, and you do find out things from phone calls and things like that. But for me, it was absolutely horrendous. And look, we're now moving in better times. I do think we've got the board. Obviously we do need more investment. And to sort the manager's role out, that needs to be done sooner rather than later. Let us know and be a wee bit more transparent with us in regards to what direction the club's going, because at the moment we don't know if Mr. Murty's going to be there, he's not going to be there. We'd like to know, me anyway as a fan, would like to know what the plan is, and give us some information in regards to stopping this 10 in a row.
From I'm not going to ask you to name names, I put you in that position, but whoever the next Rangers manager is, and I'm not saying it will be Graeme Murty or it won't be, I'm just saying whoever it is, what qualities do they need to bring?
Well, they need to bring, look, I would like them to bring somebody that knows the club, somebody that knows what Scottish football is all about, somebody that knows what this club strives for, somebody that's going to be in charge and doesn't accept second best, somebody that's going to pick the right players, and know what it means to be a Ranger, know what it means to come here and play for this club. Somebody that, and pick players that are, do your homework on the players and make sure that we bring the right type in. When I say that, I mean the right type of player that's going to run through a brick wall for this club. And when the chips are down, roll the sleeves up. I don't see that at the moment. I don't see that, unfortunately, at the moment. And that's not saying that, Mr. Murty's brought in some good players in regards to younger talent, but this younger talent needs to be harnessed in the right way, and let them know that playing for this club and how important it is to play for this club, because we don't accept second best. And that's why the fans, and I can see a lot of arguments going on at the moment, and people are saying, yeah, we're not that team, but you know what, yeah, we are that team, and we're always going to be that team. We just need to get the right players in here that are going to take the club forward and give us a bit of hope, and give us get us back to winning ways, because it's been a long time, and we do need a manager here that's going to drag the club forward, and no one step forward and 3 steps back.
Right, well, after that, I'm going to go out and slide tackle the first person I see wearing my green jacket. But there's one last thing I want to ask you about. During the 90s, it was generally considered sensible not to kind of engage yourself, like a lot of the Rangers team, but particularly yourself, in a physical altercation. And one guy infamously did. A mad Italian who only lasted one season in here and won nothing. But I wanted to ask you, did he ever show up?
No, look, what happened was it was something that happens in the football park. He got involved in something that he shouldn't have got involved in. Again, typical loudmouth and getting involved in things that it then made it worse than what it actually was. Okay. And as you've seen on the TV, he said he was going to break my legs, and I said, I'll see you up the tunnel, blah, 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 all the usual stuff that goes on. And the final whistle goes, I runs by him, and he makes a big stramash. He makes a mountain out of molehill, and before you know it, people are holding him back, and I'm getting off the park, and so on, and then I end up getting dragged up the tunnel, back to the dressing room. And you know what, that was it. That was more or less everything that happened. I never seen him after the game. We were sort of getting bundled back onto the bus and then back to Ibrox, and then that was it. But the biggest delight that I got that day was, and it wasn't the official to win the 9 in a row league, but it went a long way. To actually, for me, that was enough satisfaction. Walking out of there, we were heads held high. We won 1-0. We've just taken another 3 points off them, and basically, to me, that was me. Even though it wasn't official, but that was like winning the 9 in a row.
Oh, that was the difference between you, that team and your team. That. Sure. They've got all that, and you've got the 3 points. Yeah. And they've got all that, and you've got the trophy. Well, and that was that Rangers team.
But he probably in the game before that, we actually played Celtic 2 weeks in a row where he was dominating the game. For me, we gave him too much time, too much respect, and too much room for him to play. He's too good a player, let's be honest. Canio's a good player. He can play. He can score goals. He can set goals up. On his day, he's actually a very decent player. My job that day was to wind him up, and that was simple. I can't match with him. I can't match him in the technical ability, but what I could match him was the physical side of it, and he didn't like it. We were in his face, we were grabbing him, we were sort of pushing him, and he just didn't like it. So that, for me, as soon as I seen that was like that was like giving the bull the red flag, and the rest was history. We wound him up, we took him at the game, we took him at the equation, because I don't think he'd done anything after that. And that, for me, was job done. 3 points in the bag, 9 in a row. Thank you. See you later, Paolo.
Ian Ferguson, folks, 9 in a row legend with 10 championship medals. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
What a brilliant guy. I wish we had him in the dressing room right now. I loved Fergie. Absolutely loved him from the minute he signed right through to the end of his Rangers career. He was just a true blue, simple as, just a true blue. And when you meet him, his Rangersness just shines out of him. It's absolutely wonderful. I want to thank Stuart McCall Robert and Greg Marshall for setting that up for us, and it was very much appreciated. Loudon Tavern, best pub in the world. Give it your custom if you get the opportunity, please. Now, a couple of things to just do in our housekeeping. First of all, to let you know that on Saturday, as well as there being a minute's silence for Ray Wilkins before the game, there's also going to be a minute's applause at the start of the second half for Stuart Pedden, who sadly died last week, who had played Broxy Bear and been in and around the club for many years. So that's the first minute of the second half for a minute's applause for Stuart. The minute silence for Ray Wilkins will take place before the match. Now, a couple of bits of heart and hand news or announcements, I suppose. The tickets for the live show with Clint Hill on the 8th of June at the Loudon Tavern go on sale tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. The link will go up on Twitter, that's at Ibrox Rocks, and on our Facebook page, which is just go and search for Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. It is at Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast on Facebook, but if you just search for Heart and Hand, up we shall pop. They will sell out. That's not me being arrogant, they always do, but they do when it's just us. So you fire Clint Hill into that mix, it's going to sell out, so please be quick. Last time they went in under 90 seconds, so just be aware of that. At 7 o'clock on Friday night, you'll be able to get your tickets for the Loudon. They cost £10 each, and a splendid night is guaranteed for all, in the words of John Lennon. Now, if you want more from us, more content, you like the interview there, there's an interview with Clint Hill on our site. There's tons and tons of stuff. If you like a little bit different but all your content to be very Rangersy, go to our Patreon site and you will get at least three new shows every single day, and you can subscribe for less if you want to, but for $1.99 you will get at least 3 new shows every single day. It's patreon.com/heart and hand. If, however, you just enjoy the 2 free shows, we thank you very, very much for continuing to support us in this way. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Fergie. I will be back on Monday, hopefully talking about a much needed Bears victory against Dundee this Saturday. Till I talk to you again, stay staunch. Thanks very much. Bye.